The U.S. and its allies are fighting back against Russia and its invasion of Ukraine by trying to crush its economy with sanctions.
That's right. Over the weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken told Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan that even more sanctions are being considered.
One of the sanctions being discussed is the possibility of banning Russian oil imports. That move would further increase gas prices, which are already nearing record levels. In the past year alone, gas prices have risen from around $2.75 to an average of more than $4 a gallon. California is seeing the highest prices in the country. The state broke its own record for its highest average price at more than $5.34 a gallon. For more on this, we want to bring in Robert Sinclair. He's the Senior Manager of Public Affairs for AAA. Robert, thanks for joining us. We know the war in Ukraine and sanctions on Russia are a big part of this drastic rise in gas prices, but let's face it, they were going up before Russia invaded Ukraine. So what are some of the other contributing factors to this spike in gas prices?
Well, we have the normal cycle in gasoline prices, which usually peak during the summer driving season and then start to fall after Labor Day weekend and bottom out sometime in January and February. And that was indeed the case. Back in November, December, we saw prices falling quite drastically, but more often than not, it was because of the effects of the Omicron variant. And it's holding down demand with people staying at home and trying to avoid catching the disease. Prices bottomed in January, and then we started hearing the rumors about Russia invading Ukraine. And the oil and gasoline market is very fickle. We have seen rumors in the past lead to spikes in prices where perhaps a group would say they would mine the Straits of Hormuz, and we'd see the price of crude oil go up almost instantaneously, even though nothing had actually happened. And that was the case back in January and February. But now that there's actually a shooting war, we're seeing prices just really spiking. Though there isn't really an interruption of supply, OPEC Plus had problems keeping global demand even before that happened. And in fact, last Wednesday, the group met virtually and said that they would hold to their increases of 400,000 barrels per day over the next month. But a lot of analysts are saying that they won't even be able to keep up with that. So there were all these things happening to the normal cycles of gasoline prices even before the shooting started.
So, Robert, though, you bring up an interesting point. So do you think that some of the price increases that we're seeing are just due to, rumor and fear over the war rather than actual supply and demand issues?
Well, there's been an actual de facto embargo of Russian oil. They produce about 10 million barrels per day. And analysts are saying that about 3 or 4 million of those barrels are not being uploaded because tanker companies don't want to be bothered with them. Different corporations that are handling these kind of things don't want to be bothered. So that's definitely affecting supply. And if the United States and other nations around the world decide to go through with an actual embargo, that will take Russia's roughly 10 million barrels per day off the market. That's about 10% of global consumption. Whatever crude oil is left will suddenly become more valuable. The price will go up, and with it, the price of gasoline.
All right, Robert. So here's the gazillion-dollar question. How high are the prices going to get, in your estimation? Because this is all really Americans want to know. How high are they going to get, and when do Americans expect some sort of relief?
It's impossible to say how high they'll go. How much money do you have in your pocket? You can wind up using all of it. There are more factors in place to make the price of gasoline go up right now than to make it go down. In the middle of this month, we begin switching over to more complicated to refine and distribute summer blends of gasoline, known as RFG, reformulated gasoline. As the weather warms, more people will get out and start trying to overcome the doldrums of being cooped up by COVID for a couple years. And the Memorial Day weekend is the signal of the summer driving season, and 85 to 95% of summer trips are taken by motor vehicle. AAA is a major travel agency. We're seeing major bookings, not only for this first quarter, but really stunning bookings for the second and third quarter of people who want to travel. So I think prices will be going up even if the war stopped tomorrow because of those factors.
Wow.
prices usually peak sometime in June, July, or August, and then start going down. So it might be the middle of the summer before we see some sort of relief.
All right, Robert Sinclair, thanks, I think.
I know, not what we wanted to hear.
I bummed
but
you out, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. So we
Yep.
appreciate the insight.
Sure.